After another weekend of Premier League football, Heroes and Villains is back a day later than normal because of the bank holiday festivities, so without further ado, let's get cracking and take a look at the Heroes and Villains from the Premier League this weekend. Starting as always with a hero, we've got Charlie Daniels. Bournemouth may have lost on Saturday lunchtime, but the goal that put them in front is an early contender for goal of the season. Left back Charlie Daniels struck a half volley from a ridiculous angle in an area where most men would have took a touch and put it back in the mixer, but not Charlie Daniels. He hit it as sweet as a nut and in off the underside of the bar, giving new Man City keeper Edison absolutely no chance. You could have put Claudio Bravo in there with him too and it still would have gone in, although that's not saying much actually. Our first villain of the week is Mike Dean. Now I know he was only following the rules, but sending Raheem Sterling off was just ridiculous. While it is in the law that going into the crowd is an automatic booking, surely common sense has to prevail. Of course emotions are going to be high after you've just scored a last minute winner, so can you blame Sterling for wanting to celebrate with the fans after scoring late on? The same fans that had to travel from Manchester down to the south coast to make a half-12 kickoff, might I add. Fair enough, Mike Dean was just following the letter of the law, but he's always been happy to make himself centre of attention anyway. Back to the Heroes and we've got the Huddersfield defence. We're 3 games into the Premier League season and the Terriers still haven't conceded a goal. While their winning streak did come to an end with a 0-0 draw at home to Southampton, David Wagner can't have dreamt things would have gone this well early on. Huddersfield were hardly known for their tight defence last season, but it seems to be the absolute foundation for any success they have this season. An incredible start to the campaign for Huddersfield, so fair play to Wagner and co. Our next villain is Miguel Britos. The Watford man should be being investigated by the police right now, his tackle Anthony Knockout was that bad. Sliding in knee high on the Frenchman was a moment of cowardice from Britos, who then had the cheek to question why he was sent off in the first place. There's a big debate about tackling in the game right now, with cards being dished out for intent or too much force even when players are winning the ball, but there's no place for tackles like Britos's in the game. You'll be hard pushed to say a worse tackle than that this season. Back to the Heroes and we've got Newcastle United. If you believe what the media told you about Newcastle, then you'd know fine well that they're in absolute crisis and were about to be relegated to League One after losing their first 2 league games, with the fans in uproar because they haven't won the World Cup. Back in reality, the Magpies got their season up and running with a convincing 3-0 victory over West Ham in front of a rocking St James's Park, much to the displeasure of everyone who's been spouting rubbish about Newcastle during the past month. Next in the villains column we've got Joe Hart. Remember when there was talk of Joe Hart being one of the best keepers in Europe? Well, the poor bloke is struggling to prove he's the best goalkeeper in East London now. After being exiled by Pep Guardiola last season, the England international had a difficult year on loan at Torino, where he was at least out of the spotlight, but he's put himself back in the firing line by returning to the Premier League with West Ham. Hart has already picked the ball out of his net 10 times this season, and while the defence in front of him aren't doing him any favours, this isn't the same Joe Hart who ruled Man City 2 years ago. Sticking with the Manchester theme, our next heroes are Manchester United. There's only one team in the Premier League who has a 100% record after the first 3 games, and that is Jose Mourinho's Man United. The Red Devils have been absolutely unstoppable in the early stages of the season and are yet to concede a goal, with their latest victory coming at home to Leicester, with substitutes Marcus Rashford and Marouane Fellaini giving them a 2-0 win against the Foxes. They're really starting to look like the United of old, big and powerful with pace going forwards, which is something that has been missing at Old Trafford for years, and it's exactly why many people have their name on the Premier League trophy already. Our next villain is Tottenham and their Wembley curse. It's probably much ado about nothing because it's just playing football on some grass in a different stadium, but Spurs really don't seem settled at Wembley. 2 home games and just 1 point, combined with their Champions League and Cup final woes in past years, make up for bad reading for Mauricio Pochettino's side. Much like it was a problem for West Ham last season, Tottenham don't seem to be able to get to grips with playing in a new stadium and desperately need to get a win at their temporary home. Because the longer it takes, the more the pressure will intensify, and it could scupper any potential title charge. Our final heroes are Liverpool's front 3. The combination of Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino and Mohamed Salah is enough to give anyone nightmares. The pace and guile they possess will cause any team problems this season, and they absolutely ruined Arsenal, with all 3 getting on the score sheet with each goal showing bits of individual brilliance. Mane is the star, Salah is the new hero, while Firmino consistently slips under the radar and finds the back of the net. There are clearly problems at the back for Liverpool, and the situation regarding Coutinho needs to be resolved, but in Mane, Salah and Firmino, Jurgen Klopp arguably has the most terrifying front three in the Premier League right now. And finally, our last villain of the week is Arsenal. There's not a lot that hasn't already been said about Arsenal's performance at Anfield on Sunday, so just to reiterate, they were an absolute disgrace. While Wenger may have made mistakes, the blame cannot just fall at the Frenchman's door, because there was a clear lack of effort by his players. As Gary Neville said on Sky Sports, there is no excuse for players not running back and working hard, and the lack of effort was embarrassing. There are big problems at the Emirates right now, up and down the club, but do you really expect them to be resolved anytime soon? So those are this week's heroes and villains from the Premier League. Let us know yours in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.